Your reminder that Leslie Wexner financed the mass rape and trafficking of thousands of American children for over a decade, and right now he is sitting in a 26K square foot mansion in New Albany, Ohio, thinking that he is above the law. She tweeted this in April 28 of 2020. How crazy is that?
Holy shit.
She's like the most prolific of all the conspiracy theorists, the most well-read, the one with the most recall, the one that's the most quoted. I don't know how she's so good at it. We're trying to get her on. I don't know how she's so good and what her background is, how she finds all this information, but she's always way ahead of all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, 2020.
That's crazy.
That's fucking way ahead of everybody.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It has just been revealed that this is the guy behind the torture videos in the Epstein files. His name is Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem. We learned this just an hour ago from Thomas Massey. He believes the Sultan is behind this email. It says, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." That's what Jeffrey Epstein is saying to him. And then he says, "I am in China. I will be in the U.S. second week of May." We have also just learned that Les Wexner has been named as a co-conspirator with Epstein in the unredacted files tonight. One document in the recent file, it says, blank stated Epstein earned his money from having sex with Wexner. Old Les here is the former CEO of Victoria's Secret, huge businessman, along with Bath & Body Works, Abercrombie & Fitch, and more. Epstein wrote a draft message to Les Wexner about, quote, gang stuff and debts the two owed each other. Epstein mentioned that they were in these gang stuff for more than 15 years. Epstein also wrote about an argument with Les Wexner's wife, Abigail, where she made, quote, very unfair, aggressive, and false accusations. And then Epstein wrote that he wouldn't fully answer Abigail Wexner because it would violate a confidence between two men. Epstein also wrote that he would never put Les Wexner in harm's way. Epstein suggested Les Wexner stay silent if Abigail Wexner questioned him. And Epstein wrote, quote, "We don't know what we don't know."
Since everybody is focused on Iran, let's call out another doctor in the Epstein files. This is Dr. Ava Dubin. She is the founder of the Dubin Breast Center in Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, and she actually supposedly dated Jeffrey Epstein when she was in medical school. This is an email thread between Jeffrey Epstein and an undergraduate overseas student. As you can see at the bottom, she states, "Do you mind if I F someone with a condom?" To which Epstein replies, "Not yet. You must first go to the gyno. I just hung up on Ava. She is going to call you." And after going back and forth, you can see at the top he says, "Did Ava call you? Do you have home off from school Friday for the holidays? Ava will organize this doctor." Now later on in the email thread, that student says, "Hi Jeffrey, Ava gave me the number of doctor. I will call and make appointment. But what should I do if they ask how I will pay?" To which he replies, "I pay." And at the top it says, "Ava gave me 2 numbers and I call. They've said the first visit the doctor without insurance will be $600 in cash." According to the New York Times, this is an email exchange between Dr. Dubin and Jeffrey Epstein, where Epstein says that blank, which supposedly was that undergraduate student, fell off the ATV and needs stitches in her forehead and an x-ray to ensure no concussion. Can you organize? To which Ava Dubin replies, "Okay, Jess King, who's a plastic surgeon, is standing by. Call me as soon as you land. I will go with you." So the question is, why is Dr. Dubin giving so much help to a predator and a pedophile? Well, here's an email from Dr. Dubin to Jeffrey Epstein basically asking him for money for a women's post-op cancer floor. And she says that the floor would have a naming opportunity, for example, the Epstein floor for women, if so desired. The Epstein floor for women. What? The survivors of Epstein deserve to know, Dr. Dubin, what you had to do with Jeffrey Epstein.
Years ago when Wayfair was under some really hot water because people were logging onto Wayfair to look at furniture, and like a chair was priced at $15,000 or $16,000 and the product description was girl, age 8, skin color, whatever, hair color, whatever, eye color, whatever. And everyone thought this may have been a problem related to human trafficking. That was never officially proven, although there was a lot of really crazy stuff surrounding all of these allegations with the Wayfair scandal a few years ago. Turns out in this document dump of 3+ million documents, there's no product description, no nothing related to any of this. immediately this brought my brain back to the Wayfair scandal. And somebody went back and found old screenshots of all of this, of mostly storage cabinets. That's the really scary, gross part about all of this. Wayfair was selling storage cabinets for $12,000, for $10,899, for $12,899, for $13,799. And the product descriptions were incredibly bizarre, all around the same time as missing children going viral all over the country. And there was a lot of decoding at the time that the price of the piece had to do with the missing child's number or the date that they went missing, or so. There was a lot decoded with all of that years and years and years ago. But odd to preserve emails tied to Jeffrey Epstein related to an $8,453 purchase for a single item at Wayfair. Right?
There was a conspiracy a couple years ago about Wayfair, and they were selling these like cabinets for exorbitant amounts of money, like $80,000, $50,000.
Yeah.
And everyone was, and there is a fucking receipt in Jeffrey Epstein's emails that he had ordered one of these cabinets, but they correlate with some missing children.
So they're putting into the.
And when you would try, as a regular person back then, you could like, well, okay, I'm going to put the cabinet in my cart and try to buy it. It won't even let you do that. It would put a password. It was password protected.
I'm going to say this, and I need you to listen to me carefully. There is an FBI document in the Epstein files that both details and confirms the foreign influence on U.S. officials by Israel, Russia, and the UAE, including but not limited to our current sitting president. I'm going to start this off with a quick everything in this video is alleged, though this confidential human source may confirm a lot of what some have been saying. We're just going to start off with the bombshell and work backwards. The document details claims from the confidential human source of how Donald Trump has been compromised by Israel via the Kushner family, and they allege that all of that is a control play by them that advances their monetary interest and the geopolitical interest of other countries. Jeffrey Epstein is alleged to be an intelligence asset that worked for domestic and foreign intelligence, so a literal double agent that was trained under the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, who shows up in other documents from this new release many times. All of this comes together based on the informant's connections to a Harvard law professor named Alan Dershowitz, who not only represented Epstein in the 2008 Child SA case, he was on Harvey Weinstein's legal team in 2018. The confidential human source in this document alleges they believe Dershowitz has been co-opted and on a mission assigned to him by the Mossad, which is Israel's CIA. They also mention how Jared, who is now the president's son-in-law, and Josh Kushner were both his students. But why are the Kushners so significant? Before our current president pardoned him in 2020, their dad, Charles Kushner, who is currently the ambassador to France in Monaco, was once known for being behind one of the most blatant acts of political corruption in American history. Back in 2004, he ended up getting caught doing illegal political donations to the Democratic Party, so bribery. In 2005, they got him again for that, tax evasion and witness tampering, when he hired a SW to seduce and record the interaction with his wife's brother, who was a witness in the case against him, in order to, I would only assume, try to convince him not to testify. Mind you, we've been having a conversation about how blackmail is used around some of the people we talk about in this video. Just interesting how that way of doing things kind of lines up there too. The confidential human source in the document speaks to the Kushner family's deep ties with the state of Israel and brings the political bribery back into the frame in reference to that relationship. Believe it or not, there is more in this document. They speak to deals being overinflated, possible exchanges of money through real estate transactions, and in reading the rest of it, I can only think back to the Letitia James case where they went after the funniness in his real estate transactions, or the James Comey situation where they went after him for looking into the clearly detailed Russia connection that we can see in this document from the release of the files. The tip speaks to a Silicon Valley company ran by someone said to be Putin's former main contact in the Russian youth movement. The confidential human source was under the impression that it was a Russian company set up in Silicon Valley to steal US tech information, but they also speak to the person being not only familiar with, but sympathetic to what happened to Epstein. And of course, that's referencing how he died in prison back in 2019. This one document is a literal full circle synopsis of some of the most debated conspiracies in American politics from the last 10 years. If there's any Epstein file you want to read for yourself, I would say it's this one for sure. There are still lots of documents to look through. I'm keeping my eye out for new information as more is discovered by the hour with this new Epstein release. Shoot me a follow to stay up to date.
Les Wexner, worth $8.8 billion, founded Bath & Body Works. His company also acquired Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie & Fitch. He seeded Epstein's vast wealth. Wexner hired him as his money manager, granting Epstein power of attorney over his finances for 16 years. Wexner actually previously owned Epstein's notorious New York City mansion in the Upper East Side. Public records indicate Wexner transferred the house, worth $77 million, to Epstein for $0. Wexner cut ties with Epstein and says he discovered Epstein stole $46 million from him. In a letter to the Wexner Foundation, Les said, "I'm embarrassed that, like so many others, I was deceived by Mr. Epstein." Leon Black, worth $13.3 billion, co-founded Apollo Global Management. Black paid Epstein $158 million for financial advice through the years following Epstein's 2008 conviction for procuring a minor for prostitution. Epstein wasn't a lawyer or a certified accountant. Black later called the relationship a horrible mistake. Forbes estimates Donald Trump is worth $6.2 billion due to his cryptocurrency ventures, his social media platform Truth Social, and royalties on branded products.
Most of the emails in the latest release of the files are unverified tips the public sent to the FBI about Trump's relationship to Epstein. But from previous releases, we can track their relationship back to the 90s and early 2000s. Flight logs show that Trump flew on Epstein's plane multiple times.
And photos show Epstein attending events at Mar-a-Lago in 1992 and 2000.
Trump has said that the relationship with Epstein soured years ago. He says he had no knowledge of Epstein's sex crimes.
When the New York Times asked the White House for comment, they referred to this statement from the Department of Justice that the files may include fake or falsely submitted images, documents, or videos. Richard Branson, worth $2.8 billion, founded the Virgin Group with major brands like Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Galactic, the space tourism company. His name appears hundreds of times in the files. In one email, he joked about Epstein bringing a harem, but Virgin later said that referred to Epstein's adult staff. And photos show Epstein visiting Branson's private island in the Caribbean. A spokesperson said that if Branson had known the full facts, he would never have become involved with Epstein.
Sergey Brin, worth over $255 billion, co-founded Google. He communicated with Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime associate, starting in 2003. The files include reports from people saying he visited Epstein's island multiple times. And these photos show him at a dinner for billionaires, put on by the Epstein-funded Edge Foundation. Jeffrey also attended these dinners. Brin has not publicly commented on the documents.